The Chicago Bears are entering the playoffs, and the expectations, depending on who you're talking to, waver back and forth, especially with how the Chicago Bears finished last season. This episode is going to separate what's real, what's dangerous, and what can make or break the Chicago Bears in the playoffs, from the defense to Caleb Williams to Ben Johnson and Rome Odunze's possible return. No sugarcoating, no hype, just the truth. And we're heading into Wild Card Weekend. All that and more right after this. What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Haize. But more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. And with that said, let's go ahead and get into this content today, y'all. I want to start off with this, right? I got a list here of 5 things and 5 takeaways from the Chicago Bears regular season. And, of course, we'll talk a little bit about how that plays into what we're going to see into the playoffs for this team. And the first thing that I want to start off with is, the Chicago Bears defense. We got to talk about it, right? The Chicago Bears defense is just not good enough. And it has not been good enough the entirety of this year. And we're going to talk a little bit more. We got some comments from Dennis Allen in regards to the Chicago Bears and what he feels the team's readiness level is heading into the playoffs, which is honestly a pretty concerning quote from Dennis Allen there. But I think that this, as the season's gone on, the Chicago Bears defense has gotten more and more exposed, especially when you look at the last 2 weeks against the 49ers, against the Detroit Lions. Those are 2 teams that, again, playoff caliber teams. The Detroit Lions didn't make it, but we know that offense is legit. And they absolutely made the defense look like shit. Like, that's just the reality of it, right? The defense lived and died by takeaways. And the one thing with that is that you can't bet on that week in and week out. It's great that a stat to say you lead the league in takeaways and all that type of stuff. But even for a player like Nahshon Wright, for example, right, who, got a bunch of great takeaways, he's been asked in coverage. When I was talking with Darius from Dallas, earlier in the season, he's like, well, Nahshon Wright's better than Tyrique Stevenson. No, the fuck he's not in coverage. Now, they both have some struggles there, and Nahshon Wright gets more takeaways, which is great. But this is why I'm not so enamored by takeaways. It's why, like, for example, when people were talking about Jalen Johnson, how good he was as a corner, and people try to use, well, he didn't get a lot of interceptions. I'm like, that doesn't matter. Like, don't get me wrong. You want your corners to get some interceptions, but there's so much more that goes into that, whether you are getting interceptions or not, that comes with being a cornerback at the NFL level. And at the end of the day, this Chicago Bears team just has not been good enough. This bend but don't break mentality that this defense has, it only works if you're either getting takeaways or you're getting stops on third downs. The Bears haven't really done neither over the last few weeks, and it is a concern heading into the playoffs, so they're going to be able to do that, right? So, we'll see. Yeah, of course, you look at in the last 3 games at home, the defense only allowed just 2 touchdowns, and that's great. The Chicago Bears defense is averaging 17.6 points allowed at home compared to 30.5 allowed on the road. So with the Bears having basically home field advantage, unless they make the NFC championship game and they face off against the number 1 seed, there's something to that maybe the defense can be good enough in the playoffs. But I tell you what, right now, this defense doesn't get enough stops in the red zone. It doesn't force enough field goals instead of touchdowns. And, the turnovers are great that we do force, but you need more than that. And that's something that really stands out about this defense that has just not been good enough, and we'll see, right? And that's just the thing with that. And piggybacking off that, I guess one of the things, too, as well, is that Tyrique Stevenson should still be a starter. Sitting him completely in a game just didn't make any sense to me. Not in a game where C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Nahshon Wright got absolutely destroyed in coverage, and even Jalen Johnson did. Like, the whole thing of Tyrique Stevenson, when you look at it, is that he is better in coverage. He's not as great in zone, and that's kind of why the dynamic work between having him and Terrell Smith fluctuate back and forth between being the cornerback too. They basically split those duties. But again, I think we're seeing how the totality of that cornerback crew and with the safeties really worked in tandem, right? When you have Jalen Johnson playing at 100%, Kyler Gordon playing at 100%, you had Tyrique Stevenson, Terrell Smith, Then you throw in maybe Zay Frazier as you go forward. And then I'm not saying that Nashawn Wright should not get another opportunity to come back to this team, but I just don't think he should be as high up the depth chart as what he's had to be this season because of injury. And so Tyrique Stevenson, and again, I've said this, if you're going to upgrade from him, you're going to upgrade from him. But he has 1 year left on his rookie scale deal. But I do think in the playoffs, Tyrique Stevenson should be back as a starter, and we could see what's going to happen. Dennis Allen talked about playing the hot hand at the cornerback. And, now Nashawn Wright's been cold for a few weeks now, and it may be time to move, Nashawn Wright back down the depth chart a little bit. With that said, let's get more into the positive again. Caleb Williams and what he's did in fourth quarters this year has been great. And it's been special to see Caleb be able to do it as consistently as what he has. He's coming off one of the best seasons. Well, he's coming off a great statistical season outside the completion percentage, and it's good. Like when you look at for a Bears quarterback, like it's been great. Now, Caleb still has things that he absolutely needs to grow through as well, but I think overall, like we're seeing that Caleb Williams can grow through those things that we've seen. I think that Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams tandem is going to be one that is really important for this Bears team. And however you view Caleb Williams, I'll say this, right? Ben Johnson is the right guy to get the most out of the talent that Caleb Williams has. And so however you view Caleb Williams' ceiling, however you view the future of Caleb Williams, we have the right quarterback and coach combo to get the most out of that talent that's there in Caleb Williams. And that's going to be great. And Caleb is now going into this week, the biggest game of his career, a game against the Green Bay Packers, the dreaded Green Bay Packers in the city of Chicago. And now he has an opportunity. Let's see what he takes advantage of this moment. But this is the type of situation that Caleb Williams is supposed to be built for. And so now we will see how much that is in reality if he can take care of it. And the Iceman, listen, that's a moniker that he earned through the fourth quarter. But like I said in yesterday's episode, that's something that you want to go to. It's not something you want to have to bet on every game. And for that, Caleb Williams is going to have to put this offense through a full 4 quarters. He's going to have to play a full 4 quarters as a quarterback and leading a team in the playoffs, and we'll see if he can do that. But one thing that Caleb Williams has done and this team has done is shown you got to play the Bears until the final whistle. And I like to be able to at least have that part of identity to say you cannot play against Chicago and feel like it's not going to come down to the final whistle. Early in the season, it wasn't necessarily that, but this team is built up to that. Now, if this team can put up points in every quarter, man, that's going to be a dangerous team, and they're going to have to do that because, again, I don't have very much trust in the defense. Now, if the defense does hold up and does their averages where they're only allowing 17.5 points per game at home, if the defense does that and the offense can put up points in every quarter, that gives the Bears a great opportunity in the playoffs to really do some shit. And let's see. And again, Soldier Field is actually turning back into a home field advantage for this Bears team. And we just got to keep it coming. We got to see how we're going to continue to grow through it. But building off the back of Caleb Williams, I'll say this. What we're seeing between Caleb Williams and Colston Loveland is something that I will admit I have not talked nearly enough as I should have this season. This is a duo that can be truly special. When you look at a cornerback and quarterback duo, right, and how that helps team, because again, your tight end could be your safety net for your quarterback in a lot of situations in passing when they get in some trouble, things like that. And since Colston Loveland has become more of a priority in the Chicago Bears offense, we've seen nothing, and I repeat, nothing but good things out of that. And when you go to Colston Loveland more, it works out for Caleb Williams. It works out for this offense overall. Colston Loveland has shown himself to be an absolute weapon. He led the Chicago Bears in receiving yards this year at 713. Now, Odunze was on pace to have well over 1,000. He ended up missing 5 games this season. Had he not, that probably would have been wrong. But then again, you could easily say that, hey, Colston wasn't even in the game plan to start off the season. But this combination that we have between Caleb and Colston, that's something that I'm so excited to see how that continues to get built off on. And even with people saying, oh, let's let Cole Kmet go, I think you still want to keep Cole. Like, even as good as Colston Loveland is, you're always going to want to have an above-average tight end out there with him as well, because that frees him up. That's what makes Ben Johnson's system so dangerous. Does it always have to be somebody that's paid as much as Cole Kmet? Maybe not. But I think Cole Kmet this season in blocking and things that he's been able to do has been great. And he's just had a normal tight end season. But I think when you look at the combination that we got between Cole Kmet and Colston Loveland, you got well over 1,000 yards there. You got 8 touchdowns out of that time period as well. They both averaged Colston averaged over 12, yards per reception. Cole Kmet was shortly after that with 11.5. So, like, you want that duo out there. And then you throw in the chemistry he has with Luther Burden. You throw in Odunze. You throw in DJ Moore. I'm telling you, what we can use this season as a platform to build off on and add more wrinkles to that offense next year, and Kyle Monangai as well has been a weapon. This Bears offense has a lot of talent, but that relationship between Colston and Caleb, that's going to be one that you really have to look out for and how that grows, and that's going to be a dangerous duo going forward as well. And then lastly, we got the right coach. I think that's one of the biggest takeaways you have to go from this as well. We got the right coach in Ben Johnson. The Bears have not always got their coaching hires correct. We got the right guy with Ben Johnson, and that is something that I feel wholeheartedly. You cannot waver me from that. We got the right guy. Has it all been perfect? No. Has he made some mistakes? Absolutely. But unlike Matt Eberflus and some of the coaches that we've had in the past, when Ben Johnson makes a mistake, he holds himself accountable. He holds the team accountable to what he wants to see from it, and that is refreshing as well from the standpoint of being a lifelong Bears fan, to see a team that's actually holding themselves accountable, to see a coach that has been the leader of men that everybody talked about needing and wanting in this building. We got that. Ben Johnson is the right guy. I said it early. He's the right guy to develop Caleb. He's the right guy to lead the Chicago Bears team. And I tell you what, right now, we get to see a lot. Getting the Bears to the playoffs is great in your first year. Now, of course, that raises the expectations. That raises the bar. And the question now becomes about, can Ben Johnson go from good as a head coach? Because he had a good season. And can he become a great head coach for the Chicago Bears? And if that happens, a legendary head coach for the Bears. We haven't had a lot of those guys in our history, right? We have, of course, coaches people have different affinities for. Lovey is probably the last guy that was close to that. Can Ben Johnson truly become a great head coach in the history of the Chicago Bears? That's the next question ahead of him, of course, and what happens in the playoffs. But let me know what you guys think. What are some of your biggest takeaways for the Chicago Bears this season? Let me know that down below. With that said, I do want to talk about a couple of injury updates. Rome Odunze reportedly is planning on playing for the Chicago Bears in their wild card matchup against the Green Bay Packers. We had talked about the injury report. He's been a limited participant in practice, but now it seems like that you take that limited participant thing, and he's planning to play. He was limited yesterday. He was limited as well on Tuesday, as was Kyler Gordon. But according to Rome Odunze, he is planning to play on Saturday against the Green Bay Packers. And like I said, that's going to be great for a few different reasons. Even if Rome is not 100% himself, defenses still have to play him. It's not like they're going to completely sag off of him, because you know how dangerous Rome could be. You know the chemistry between Rome and Caleb Williams. So that's going to just, even if the Bears don't go to him a lot, right? Even if he's a little slow coming off the offensive line, even with that, you still have to leave pressure on Rome Odunze, which then you look at Luther Burden III, how that can free him up in the slot. DJ Moore and the chemistry that he's built, what we just talked about with Colston Loveland. So either way, I see Rome Odunze being nothing but a positive for the Chicago Bears being out there on the field. Now, I will say this. If I'm wrong and he comes out there and he does just look so slow, or he looks off, or he looks anything like that, then you just don't play him. And that's fine, because we've already had to have games where we didn't have Rome, and we've seen the players that have been able to step up. But as of right now, Rome Odunze getting back there out there on the football field, that's something I think every Bears fan should be excited for, because we've seen the chemistry that we have. We've seen what he's been able to do. We've seen the big plays that he's able to make, how he's able to get separation. You get him out in open field, that is something that's special there. So being able to have DJ Moore, Rome, Luther Burden, Colston Loveland, with as well Cole Kmet, what he does. We'll see if Jahade Walker gets out there, even Kyle Monangai and DeAndre Swift in the pass game. You want to give Caleb Williams every weapon at his possible disposal in the playoffs against these Green Bay Packers. And if we have that, man, that could be something that's special. So hopefully what Rome plans on doing actually comes into reality, because if that happens, that opens up a whole new dynamic for this Bears team, and one that we haven't really seen in a while. So this offense has looked good. It's looked solid. We statistically had one of the better offenses in the league this year. And again, that's another thing, like we talked about, that's a good thing to build off on heading into next year, to add those extra wrinkles. You got so many creative offensive minds. I can't wait to see, now with seeing the chemistry and seeing the other things and getting the data that you need, I can't wait to see what Declan Doyle, Ben Johnson, Eric Bieniemy, what they do with this offensive scheme coming off this. Keep in mind, the Bears ranked 9th in total points per game, 10th in passing offense, 3rd in rushing offense, 6th in total offense on the year, 7th in third down conversions, which was something I did want to see the Bears improve on. We were near 30. We got up to 42.7%. So those things, we were 3rd in sacks allowed. right? First in turnovers. So, the Bears took care of the offense, took care of its side of the job, and it became one of the best offenses in the game of football. One of the things that did stand out as far as a negative, the Bears were 12th. The only statistic that the Bears weren't top 10 in the league in was red zone scoring. And that is something that Declan, Ben Johnson, and Eric Bieniemy, I trust they're going to get that fixed in this offseason. They're going to put in the work to get that fixed, and we're going to see what happens with that. But much like Rome Odunze, Kyler Gordon also is planning to play in this game. This one comes from Dennis Allen that says this just simply, our plan is to have him a part of it. So right now, the Bears are planning to have him out there. Now, as we've seen with Jalen Johnson, just because you play doesn't mean you have your usual impact. And that's been something that's been evident with Jalen Johnson. I still give hats off to Jalen, and he's clearly playing through pain. He's clearly playing through injury, and I give him credit for that. But the results are still the results. They haven't been good. So now with Kyler Gordon looking to also make his return in this playoffs, listen, that's somebody that Kyler Gordon has. He's a ball hawk. He's somebody that you can use in pass blitzing, run blitzing, all those type of things. He is somebody that is so potentially special under what Dennis Allen is. And so, you look for a defense that needs a spark. I just talked about it in the first segment how the defense is a big concern heading into the playoffs. We'll get more on that to end the show. But missing 14 games this season for Kyler Gordon, it's been concerning. And I know you've seen some things from some Bears fans like, oh, we got to get rid of him. He never plays. It's like he never missed over 3 games before this season. And I'm not willing for a player that we've seen to be one of the best nickel corners in the game of football to give that up. But he's going to have to come up big for this Bears team. And hopefully he can do that in the playoffs this year and redeem for missing so much time during the regular season. But next season, we need Kyler fully healthy. And we need him fully healthy for a damn near full. I always give players a couple of games to miss each year. I just think that happens for players that are as active and versatile like a Kyler Gordon, or that take as much, or especially defensive players. But we need better from Kyler Gordon, and if he shows it in the playoffs, that's the most important time. So we'll see there, and we'll see what happens with Kyler Gordon going into the future. He got paid, got injured, and we'll see how that plays off into the future. But the last thing that I said that I wanted to talk about, right, was Dennis Allen's quote on the defense and how it raises so much concern for this that your defensive coordinator is looking at things this way, but he's being real. And I can't knock anybody who's being honest in an honest evaluation, but Dennis Allen says this. Just consistency in what we're doing. Getting off the field on third down. That's been the biggest issue we've had. Part of it is we've played a couple of really good teams the past few weeks. And Dennis Allen is not wrong in that, right? We're facing the Green Bay Packers for the third time. And you don't usually do that in an NFL season, right? There are some critics that have called the Chicago Bears pretenders. And part of it is because of the defense. The defense is not a playoff caliber defense. Just being real. I've not seen anything from this defense that makes me feel like it's a playoff caliber defense. When you look at the last 3 games, the Packers, the 49ers, and the Lions, the Bears have been the third worst in the NFL on third downs in that time. They've allowed a conversion of 54.29% on third downs. That's just not good. They also gave up 2 fourth down conversions over that stretch as well. That's where the Chicago Bears are going to have to be better at, right? Like I said in the first segment, having a bend but don't break defense works if you're getting takeaways and you're getting stops on third down. The Bears have gotten takeaways over the course of the season. We've kind of fallen off on that in the last few weeks. If we can get back to that in the playoffs and get more stops on third downs than what we've been getting, I think the defense can do enough. We even saw it against the game against the Detroit Lions. You only allowed 19 points against the Detroit Lions. That was averaging almost 30. But we have to be much more consistent because this defense has been getting picked apart religiously at this point. And so you need better from that for your team, especially in all of this. So one of the biggest knocks and one of the biggest criticisms about the Bears and their readiness for the playoffs comes down to the defense. That's one of the biggest factors in all of this. It comes down to the fact that it's very hard to trust this defense. Now, with that said, what changes for this team? What changes for this era of the Chicago Bears? Can they get back to that now? Can they get back to being a team that can get those takeaways and key drives, key points? And one could say that we even got some key takeaways against the Lions. We just weren't able to take advantage of it and score in the way that we needed to. So we'll see what this Bears defense does. But Dennis Allen, at least he's being honest, and I'm somebody that I feel like you can't fix something unless you're truly honest about why it's a problem. I get the feeling that Dennis Allen is going to be honest with this team and with himself about where the problems are with this, with the scheme, with the performance, with the execution, all that type of stuff. And he understands the seriousness of this moment in the playoffs. And let's hope that the players respond to that as well, and we just get better overall. We'll see, right? I've said this before. We've seen some weaknesses for teams turn into not as big of weaknesses, and even sometimes turn into strengths. Now, that doesn't happen for the Bears a lot, but we'll see what happens about this. The Bears have to prove it. Everything about this team is going to have to continually be proved. We already know. We're the little brothers of the NFC North, and we won this year. And there are going to be so many people, especially if the Bears lose to the Packers on wild card, that just use that to say, see, the Bears weren't real. So let's go out here and let's put it all out on the field. Let's get this dub, and let's see what the future holds for this Bears team. But that's my time for today, y'all. I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. The regular season is over. The excuses are gone. The margins are very thin for the Chicago Bears team. And now it's time to see if this team is just ahead of schedule or are they actually ready. If you enjoyed today's episode, hit that like button. You can subscribe to the channel as well. You can follow us at Shy Bear Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearCentral@gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related. But that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.